So that's the whole idea, is to get rid of the branches you don't want, and the rest will look right. Hi, I'm miltonchang of Bonsaiheirloom, and I'll do 3 elm trees that I will update every 3 to 6 months for you to see the progress that we can make. And I'll do one small one, which you can easily start yourself, and then the older ones to show you what potentially they can be. In this case, both of these Ulmus japonicum, Japanese elm, the cork elm is called Davidiana sometimes. The names are pretty bastardized. Nobody really knows the real name of these trees, but we call them cork pine and whatever they may be. And this one seems to have a little smaller leaves than this one. So I'll propagate both of these for you to have someday. So let me work on each one of these. This tree I actually wanted to show you. I picked this tree because I did that about really no more than a month ago. And to a very bare tree, you know, a lot of people accuse me of being brutal, cut my trees to bare, but see how quickly it fills up. And I'm not going to move these out of the pots. I can, because they are pretty much now set in their ways. The only thing I will do later on in the cooler months is to pull it up and wash out a little of the soil on top to expose more of the roots, to give it a little bit more character. This one, since it's so early, the roots are not established, I will pull it up to make sure the roots are fine. And this one is a very particularly good variety for shohin, or mame even, because this is the variety that's called Catlin. Apparently it's developed by a gentleman by the name of Catlin in the USA. Although I must say I've seen these trees, similar trees in China. So he couldn't very well have imported from China at the time. But the Catlin elm is one you should look for. They're very desirable because the leaves are very small. Boy, because of heat, I think my voice is going out. So bear with me, please. So with that in mind, then I'll just clip away fairly quickly to carry this tree to the next stage. That means I clip it fairly bare, and it just really grew out in 4 to 6 weeks. And I had to clean it up back to basic again, and then let it grow out again. So let me start from the top. Again, I don't want to keep increasing the apex so that it becomes unusually high. So I will cut this back a bit to keep it short. And if I had to let it grow out again to thicken it, I will do that. But again, I don't want it to continue to let it grow to get tall. So you see, this could be an apex. Then the next is the one that's next to it, which should be a little bit lower. And yet this one is a little bit taller. So what I can do is I can make this one, anchor this one down a bit to make it lower, or bend it a little bit to make it lower without breaking it. And at the same time, clip off the top. This is a very nice clipper, fairly universal. I can use it for lots of things, cut a little bit thicker branches and all that. But although I do have preferences on other tools, so which I would include in the toolbox we will ship you. But these will be all tools that's proven to work really well over time. So you can see I'm cleaning off the overgrowth to expose the trunk. To show the design of the tree rather than just a big lump, which I don't think is very artistic. It looks very healthy though, but I think it's more than just the health. We want to also get the artistic aspect of it. So I just clip away, increase the ramification short at the right places. And this is a very nice cork elm. The bark is very nice, but it's also very short, in the sense the leaves are very small. So I'm basically cutting it back fairly brutally because I know they will grow back very quickly to give me more clipping opportunity to get it to the right get the ramification at the right places. So I'm not worrying about over clipping because they grow back very quickly to give me more opportunities and do it right at the right places. So I'm just creating paths as I go, and I let the branches come out at the right angle. So when you look at it, you feel comfortable in a sense that nature has trained you. That's the way the leaves will grow to seek light. Everything has to be consistent with nature. One of the audience wrote me to say, bonsai seems to be against the law of nature. Trees would kind of grow nicely, and yet you put it in a pot to starve it and really mistreat it. Well, that's very far from the truth. You want to keep the bonsai growing very fast so that you have plenty of opportunity to reshape it, right? So it's not like keeping the trees stunted, but rather keep the trees growing fast, but in the direction you want it to be to to fulfill the vision that you have in the tree. So that's where the art piece comes in, and you retain the nature to let the tree grow the way it likes to be, seeking light. And so that's what bonsai is about. It's reinforcing nature and be consistent with nature, not to go against nature. I'm just going from branch to branch until I'm all done with it. It will take me 15 more minutes, I will think. So last week we worked on the Catlin elm, the 2 elms and a rock, and that was fully overgrown. And it taught me how to clip these trees when they're overgrown and without taking too much time. So what I learned from doing that tree is now being applied to this one to shorten the time I have to spend on this tree. And the design idea is that I'm going to have a nice pad, kind of symmetrical, but a little bit oblong here. And then this one will be here, and with the pads, like this someday maybe a pad here. So this is the idea of this tree. And I clipped it about a month ago, and it was so overgrown you couldn't even see what's going on. And I really like the overgrown to show the health, but on the other hand, I also like to show the trunk. That's why I cut back and show the trunk. When it fills up, then it'll be filled up the right place after 3-4 times. And then you can see both a lot of green and as well as the bark, the trunk. So with that in mind, then let me work on to the next one, which is going to be a quick one, a shohin. And this one is a Catlin elm. Now for this one, I'll actually take it out of the pot. And the reason is that I have now looked at the bottom to find out the rootage. And I want the roots to look nice at an early stage so that when they grow up, I would not be surprised, and there's nothing I can do about the roots. You can see this root is actually not bad. See, the weather's so hot, the top is already dried out. Fortunately, the bottom is moist so that water will not run out. But you see, it's a hot summer. I don't want to disturb the root too much, as little as I can, but still want my objective to see where the roots are. So when I put it back in the growing, the 1 gallon pot, what I would do is I put it here and to accentuate the roots. So this is basically my shohin, the basics of a shohin. So I'll clip off as I see fit. But you can see this is at the bottom of a cloich. So that's not very good. Trees generally don't grow that way. So I'll cut this off. And I'll clean this up so there's not a stub there, a nub there. And then up here, here's an apex. And I think this is kind of the apex here, although right now it's shaping up to be this the apex. And this is coming down, which is fine. So I will accommodate that by doing the following clipping, and you can see the effectiveness of clipping. You just get rid of the branches you don't want, then the rest of the tree looks right. So that's the whole idea, is to get rid of the branches you don't want, then the rest will look right. Less is more, right? So this is the apex, so I work on that first by clipping this off. So this is the shohin. I put some soil in the bottom of this 1 gallon growing pot, and then I put it in, exposing the roots, so the roots will look nice. It will thicken that way. And if I put it in a bonsai pot, it will instantly look nice. So I encourage you, beginner bonsai, to do smaller bonsai. The trees I was shipping you in the beginning would not be that large, so you can trim it back to make it a shohin bonsai. And the point is that when you do a shohin small bonsai, it becomes respectable looking, showing the design very quickly, whereas the older one would take many more years. So with that in mind, then let me move on to the next one. This one is a very respectable elm. Again, you can see it got really large. I cut it off and to use the little branches to design. And over time, that's an interesting shape. I will let it rot, it will look nice. And this is again, a Ulmus japonicum, Japanese elm, cork elm, Devediana, which you can find. And I will also propagate these to make it available for you someday. So this tree was planted in the ground, I would say about 25 years ago, and dug up maybe 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago. But it grew in the ground very rapidly. You know, elm tree gets to be a giant in 30, 40 years. So if you let it in the ground, but I did is not only left in the ground, but also cut it back to force a branch on the side and shape it to design. And that this is what it looks like. So encourage to put trees in the ground. So with that in mind, then everything looks pretty good. I'll probably again clean off some of the topsoil and then move the plant up to expose more of the root to show age. My trees have good looking roots, not by accident. What I do is I actually trim off the roots that's not desirable. So for example, I can see there's a root underneath of it coming out this nicely, where this one is growing out in an odd direction. So you see, like this one shows in an odd direction. I'd rather have this one take over, and I may not want this one to take over because I think it'll be more natural when this one takes over, the bottom one. So with that in mind, then I'll clip that off. So you can see, and if I clip it here, the root here would grow down like this little root, and to make it look nice. So I'm pretty brutal with my trees, my roots. So when they grow up, they will look nice. And like this, I mean, why is it up here? And so are these a little weird looking. So I'll clean it up. And then I gradually move the root up. Now this one has a root and not much here. So I actually save it. And when I repot it, I'll push this one down into the bottom so it look nice. So the same with this here. They look kind of not really necessary there. So anyway, some of that can be left for features. With that in mind, then, let me work on the top first, the top down always. So this is a nice informal cascade style, which I like. It shows a tree growing out the side of a mountain and trying to seek light away from the shadow. So that makes nice. So starting from the top, again, I don't want to keep gaining the height. So like, why am I having so much height? So instead, I would pick an apex down this way. And I think this could be a nice apex coming up, and with this one coming down. So let me try this. Right, so I will let this one grow thick, and then this one coming down as a side branch. So apparently I wired this part before, probably 3 months ago. So let me remove it before it gets, because that branch is now already in place. You see, it's that quickly. But what I noticed is that I make this the apex, and it looked pretty nice at a distance, but if you really look at it, this is really kind of a long branch. I can, for example, cut this off, make this part the apex to keep it shorter or even further down, but that maybe take a little longer. So let me just do this. See, this clipper can clip quite a thick branch if I just wiggle a little bit. Now you can see this is coming up. For example, I can make this the top, and then these side branches coming down. And then if I clip it here, something may come out this way to fill this hole. And so now I have an apex. Instead of up here, now it's down here. So I did not substantially increase the height of the apex. As time goes on, it'll be way too long. And then you're sorry you didn't clip it earlier. So you see, that's the apex, and it will thicken. And I let this sacrificial branch grow to thicken it in time. And then now this will fill out this hole, something else will fill out this hole, and then this fill out this hole. The decision of what you clip is quite easy, actually. You just want it to sort of tree growing all in one direction, seeking light. So it's not like something grow this way, something grow this way. So in today's video, I did 3 elms. Both of these are different cultivar of the Japanese cork elm. And this is the Catlin elm, which is a really nice material for small bonsai because the leaves reduces very nicely to tiny little leaves and glossy. So what I did is that it was overgrown after a little bit over a month after I trimmed it. So I cut it all back and start over again. So that's the second time in really called it 6 weeks. But if I do that every 2 months or 3 months, the ramification will increase very nicely with lots of greens and yet still show the bark. So that's this one. And this is just more or less informal upright. In a sense, it's not like just a little hat. And then this is the shohin. And then this is the cascade. You can see it was growing the ground fairly rapidly, and I cut this. And what I'll do is after the video, I'll chisel this, so make the middle part will rot because more water will accumulate in it rather than drying out to give us some feature. And so again, I exposed the growth. This tree was planted it's a small cutting, growing the ground for about 25 years. And then it was in the pot, in a sense, in the ground for maybe 12 years. And then it was in the pot for a total of about 25 years. And you can see the trunk is very respectable. And that's how fast these Japanese cork elm grows. So I thank you very much for watching. I hope you find the video informative and click like. I appreciate the encouragement, and please give me some feedback whether I did right or did wrong. And I try to improve, and we learn together. And subscribe to our channel. So with that in mind, then thank you very much, and see you next week.